Thank you, sir. We request Sri Rajeev Chandrasekhar to address the gathering.
My dear friend K.C. Ramamurthy ji, my colleague in Parliament and otherwise a great source of friendship and inspiration as well, Dr. Kiran Kumar, Dr. Gopal Krishna, Sabita Ramamurthy ji, Trishta Ramamurthy ji, Jaideep, and to the students here, to the educators, parents, and all those who are attending this program, my warm welcome. Good morning, namaskar. First of all, let me just say it's a privilege and an honor to be invited to speak here at this very unique festival, the Fine Festival, and to be made aware of the desire to focus on extraordinary education, extraordinary teaching. And I will certainly in the next 5 to 10 minutes lay out why this is so important in the overall scheme of things as a country, as a people, as we chart our course as a nation after many, many years of independence to a very clear direction of emerging as a developed country in the next few years, and a country that is sitting around the round table of the top nations of the world as the third largest economy of the world. Let me start by just telling especially the young audience, the younger audience in the group here today, and those who will hear about this program and experience this festival, that I will say this to you with great confidence and without any risk of being contradicted, that as a nation, as a people, as Indians, we are at an inflection point after 75 years of our independence. This is the most exciting period in the history of modern India. This is the most exciting period that we are living in terms of how we see our future and where our future will be. Just look at the last few weeks in the lives, or at least look at it from my perspective. A few weeks ago, we became the 4th country in the world to land on the moon with the Chandrayaan 3. I congratulated Dr. Kiran Kumar for his pioneering work and all of those who succeeded him. So on one particular day, we have a headline that we become the first nation to land on the south pole of the moon. Then a few days later, India launches a probe headed to the sun. As if the moon wasn't big enough for us to reach, we've sent a probe to the sun, the Aditya L1, and a series of tests to mark a manned mission with the Gaganyaan spacecraft. Just a few weeks before that, we just concluded the most epic G20 presidency ever in the history of G20 under India's presidency of the G20. The world recognized and embraced unilaterally and with absolute total consensus India's approach to digitization of the world, digitization and making technology available to all peoples of the world through the DPI, the India Stack. A few days later, we inaugurate the first ever parliament building in the history of independent India. That itself gave me goosebumps. Then 2 days after that, the same parliament building passes an historic women's reservation bill that will change the lives and the future in terms of opportunities for every young girl and every young woman of India. And if that wasn't all good enough and that was all not exciting enough to be packed into a 30-day frame, 2 days after the women's reservation bill, the iPhone 15, globally launched around the world. Consumers go to their shop in New York, Sydney. At the same time, for the first time, consumers in India get the same iPhone product at the same time as the consumers around the world. The difference being the iPhone 15 that Indian consumers get was made in India, and the consumers in New York and Sydney get is made in China. And if that was not exciting enough, and that was not enough action packed into 1 month, 2 days after that I fly to Ahmedabad and do the groundbreaking ceremony of a $3 billion plant to make semiconductor memory chips and memory modules by one of the world's largest memory semiconductor companies called Micron in Dholera in Gujarat. Something that we have never done in the last 75 years, we have done. So this is the point, these are the points I'm using to explain to you why we are living in the most exciting period in the history of India. And just 2 days ago, I was in UK at the AI Safety Summit hosted by the government of the United Kingdom and Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And the concepts and values that our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has talked about the internet and tech in general, 2 years ago, about safety and trust being important. Those are values now that are being embraced by the UK, Europe, the US, and this AI Safety Summit echoed exactly what India has been saying for the last 2 to 3 years. So these are the exciting times we are living in. In 2014, I never stopped saying this, and I want to just share with you, this is my 72nd university campus, college campus visit in the last 2 years. And I have the tremendous privilege and honor of meeting so many young students from all across the country. And when they ask me, why do you say this is some new India? What is so great about this new India? Because I don't remember the old India. I lay out some examples for them. First example I use is, I don't know how many of you are aware, in 2014, 82% of all mobile phones used in India were imported. And there was absolutely no exports, obviously, because we were importing everything. And today in 2023, 100% of all the mobile phones that we consume in India are made in India. And last year alone, made in India Apple phones, made in India Samsung phones, 1 lakh crores were exported from India. That is the journey, that is the distance we have traveled. In the past, the government of India was seen as this dysfunctional body that held back Indians. That was a hurdle to the ambitions and aspiration of Indians all over the country. And famously, in the late 80s, there was a Prime Minister of India who said, if 100 rupees leaves Delhi for the benefit of our citizen, only 15 rupees reaches because of all the levels of intermediation, leakage, and corruption. And today, what do we have? When 100 rupees leaves Delhi, or indeed any state capital, 100 rupees reaches the citizen's account directly, without any intermediation, without any delay, without any leakage. Power of technology and power of intent. What was it earlier in the days when Dr. Kiran Kumar and me were students like you in a college dreaming about a future? Opportunities were limited. You either had to have a famous last name, or you had to have a godfather. And even in that you could either get into the government, or you could get into 3 or 4 large Indian companies, the Birlas, the Tatas, the ABCDFG. And if you were not lucky enough to get into both those, and you had a struggling father, which in my case I had, you take some money from him, borrow, and then go abroad and study. These are broadly the 3 or 4 opportunities we had in those days. And today, what do you have? You have hundreds and thousands of opportunities as a young Indian today. 100,000 startups have been created in this country, and 110 unicorns have been built in this country. No famous last name, no godfather. They have raised the capital, built the innovation, built their companies, and created success on their own. That is the journey that we have traveled. This is the new India. The other thing that I try to remind our young students today is, in the days of your parents and your grandparents, the narrative was India is a poor country. We can't fend for ourselves in defense. We can't build infrastructure. We can never create the world-class facilities for our students and our youngsters because we are a poor country. What are we today? We are the fastest growing economy in the world. Our tax collections year on year exceed targets by 25 to 30%. We are spending the highest amount of any country in the world in building world-class infrastructure with 13 lakh crores this year. We have modernized our armed forces, spent the money that is required to build infrastructure, security, and opportunities for our youngsters. India was never a poor country. India was only a country that was governed by a poor mindset. And therefore, this is the new India, this is the journey, this is the India that you are today students in. And it is in that context that I say that education, this type of extraordinary education, I like the word extraordinary education, reimagining education is absolutely core to realizing the possibilities and opportunities that we have for the next 5 years and 10 years. And I'll quote Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, he said, and I quote, "It is education that has the power to change the destiny of this country. Education has an important role in achieving the target with which the country is moving forward, and the youth are representatives of this." So first of all, I congratulate the team here, headed of course by my friend, so part of that congratulation is for myself because I'm his friend, for doing this excellent and really thinking beyond the horizon. It is absolutely clear, and I say this as somebody who's deeply passionate about education and skilling, because that is the other portfolio I have skilling, that the opportunities in front of the young Indians today, the youth in India today, are just infinite. There are so many opportunities. But what is certainly required to make those opportunities real, to realize the potential of those opportunities and to do well and to build your own future aligned to those opportunities, is the ability to have skills and capabilities to pursue those opportunities. The time and the place for rote education, just a degree or just a high school certificate is long over. That is why the national education policy that the government and the Honorable Prime Minister has put forth is a policy that stresses on vocational and skilling during the school period itself. And I want to share one statistic with you to compare the old India and the new India. I don't know how many of you as educators or how many of you as parents are aware. In 2014, out of the 42 crore workforce in India, 420 million people working, going to work in the morning and coming back home to look after themselves and their families. 31 crore Indians, 310 million Indians, had no formal education, had no skills. After 70 years of independence, that was a legacy. That education and skilling had become the purview of the elite, that skills were not available. 3 out of every 4 Indians were forced to work without skills, and every year of 1.5 crores, 15 million Indians joined the workforce without skills. This is what was the status in 2014. And today, we are trying hard to make up for that big deficit by making sure, A, the national education policy at the school level itself, skilling and vocational training and experiential learning become the norm rather than the exception. And then those outside the schooling system who are today without skills are given access to skills at the cheapest and lowest possible manner and a broadest spectrum of skills as possible. I can go on and on about this, but I will pause here and certainly say that the time for extraordinary education, for reimagined education, for extraordinary educators to be the catalyst for creating a whole new generation of students that are confident and capable and are going to be, in a sense, the ambassadors of the progress and prosperity that our country aspires to in the coming years, in the decade that our Honorable Prime Minister refers to as the India Decade. The time has come, and I'm certainly glad that the team here has taken the leadership for this and has shown the absolute creative initiative to reimagine education, to redraw the boundaries of what our youngsters should be able to access. I will add one word, that as we create skills and as we create capabilities and as we create confidence in our students, we must also focus as much on curriculum that deals with civic duties as a citizen, as a future citizen, history and culture and tradition, that they should never forget who they are as Indians, as Kannadigas, as from whichever region you come from, but that walking hand in hand in lock sync with all of these modern skills and exposure to modern techniques is certainly the way to go for us and for the youth of this country and for the students of today and the students of tomorrow. Thank you for your patient listen. Thank you for inviting me. Jai Hind, Jai Karnataka.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your insight. A gentle reminder to the audience to please switch your phones to silent mode. We are thrilled to present Creating Extraordinary Educators, a teacher's roadmap to becoming extraordinary. This book is a profound endeavor to elevate the teaching profession and inspiring aspiring educators to reach new heights.